why did God have to mention from one new moon to another in Isaiah 66, verses 22 to 23, if the moon is not important in determining the Sabbath day? Let's go and look at Isaiah chapter 66. You know, when it comes to the Sabbath, my dear ones, please understand that the Sabbath was laid down by God Himself at the beginning of creation. And the Sabbath has to do with the weekly cycle. Now, we have the yearly cycle, we have the monthly cycle, and we know that the yearly cycle is determined by the sun going, or the earth going around the sun. And we know that the lunar cycle has to do with the moon, from one new moon to another. And we know that the moon, sun, moon, and stars were created on the fourth day of creation, not the seventh day. And so the Sabbath is a memorial of creation. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, the day following the 6 days of creation, it says, God ended His work which He had made, and He rested on the seventh day from all His work which He had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it He had rested from all His work which God created and made. The Sabbath, dear ones, has to do with the weekly cycle, and that weekly cycle was set aside and set apart at creation. And it was determined that every seventh day was the Sabbath. Now, the days in the beginning did not have names. It was the seventh-day Sabbath. There's two days in Scripture that refers to days specifically. One is the sixth day, and the Bible calls that day, the day before the Sabbath, the Bible calls that the preparation day. That's the day of preparation. And then the following day is the seventh-day Sabbath. That's the day that follows the preparation day. And after that is the first day after the Sabbath, the second day after the Sabbath, the third day after the Sabbath, and the fourth day. You can say after or you can say before, because God created the earth in 6 days. So that there's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, seventh day, the Sabbath. And so every seventh day is the Sabbath. It has nothing to do with the moon. This is an erroneous supposition, a teaching that is so far removed from Scripture, and that this idea that the weekly cycle has been lost sight of, and that the Catholics have messed around with the weekly cycle, and now in order to determine the true weekly cycle, we have to decide on which day is the Sabbath with reference to the moon. And I want to suggest to you that the interval of time between one vernal equinox and the next, that is, when the sun crosses the line this year, 365 days beyond that, actually it's 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, 46 seconds. That's the length of a year. And that has to do with the earth going around the sun. In other words, it's 365.242199 days in a year. Whereas the length of the lunar month, that is the length of time between one new moon and the next, is 29 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 2.8 seconds. In other words, 29 days, 0.530588 days in a lunar month. There's no way to divide either of those equally by 7. And so the 7-day week cycle stands on its own. It has nothing to do with the moon. And so, you know, this idea of the moon telling us which day is the Sabbath, this is a deception from the pits of hell. If Satan can destroy the seventh-day Sabbath by teaching a lunar Sabbath, then he has succeeded in destroying the whole theology of the Bible with reference to the counterfeit Sabbath, which we know is the mark of the beast. And it will lead multitudes of people astray, and they will accept the counterfeit Sabbaths, failing to realize the importance of obedience to the true Sabbath, because the counterfeit Sabbath is going to be the big test for God's people in the end of time, my dear ones. You see, if Satan can get people to think that it's important to worship on a lunar Sabbath, which has nothing to do, I mean, if you follow the lunar Sabbath issue, some weeks you're going to have 6 days in a week, some weeks you're going to have 8 days in a week, and you're not going to be keeping the seventh-day Sabbath at all. You're going to be, occasionally it may fall on the same time, same day, but Satan will have succeeded in leading you into a trap that will destroy you in the end. And so be careful. The seventh-day Sabbath has to do with creation. It is looking back to creation. All these feast days and lunar Sabbaths, that's only a shadow of things to come. Those were yearly Sabbaths. They were not weekly Sabbaths. And so don't go there. Don't fall into that trap.